Good morning and welcome to BBOC Live, presented by DraftKings. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is the Week 10 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-hosts, Collin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. I think we can kind of count this as the midway point of the season, right? When you include bowls and college football playoffs, it's November. So it's time to finish the second half of the season strong. The slate, it's not as sexy as we might have thought before the season, but we're better, so we don't really care. There will be good games. College football almost never disappoints. Before we get into our first of two best bets, we also have Duck talking some FCS. We'll build our moneyline parlay, talk the marquee matchup of the day, which is in prime time in Knoxville between Oklahoma and Tennessee in a quasi stay alive for the college football playoff slash playoff elimination game. Do want to remind everyone to make sure that you check out the quick slick links that will drop in the YouTube chat. You can use those to quickly and easily add your picks to your bet slip. Also, check out at Playbook on Twitter, the Action Network bot. If you see a bet you like, you can just reply with at Playbook. You could just say, hey, Playbook, build me this bet. Especially if you're looking at parlays or props, it'll just automatically reply to you with a link. Bring it right up in your book. You don't have to search. Super easy. So make sure you check out and follow at Playbook. Gentlemen, happy Halloween weekend. Colin, I'll start with you. What did you do for Halloween? Did you hand out candy? No one came to my house. There was no one in our neighborhood. Apparently, trick-or-treating is dying. People do like these. I learned about this yesterday. Trunk or treats and these organized events. How was your Halloween night?
It's like more cool to have a mom dress up hot than it is for you to go out. Listen, so I think what I did was shut the lights off. I bought 8 packs of Bowman Chrome U and I ripped open a Lenora Sellers like Auto 105. Like that's my Friday night. So it was a trick or treat for me getting some of these college players in and Bowman Chrome
You're
U's.
part of the problem. You shut the lights off.
Yeah, shut the lights
You
off.
don't put anything out front.
I don't need any candy in my house. Like, listen, you and I, like our weight, we try to manage our weight during the football season. The last thing I need is a bag of Reese's on the counter in October. All right, I got Maction coming up. I got to stay thin.
I had all of my candy left over. Had my wife bring it down to her bar last night. So I don't want that in my house either. Duck, is Halloween dying?
I mean, it appears to be. Yeah. I mean, we take the kids a little bit and go around the neighborhood, but I spent the majority of the evening in the command center watching UNC football and starting to prep, continuing my prep for college hoops, which is coming up just around the corner. So I had a busy night.
Yeah, it's that time of year. We got college basketball coming up, midweek matching, which we'll talk next week. What percentage of the house is answered for you?
Um, Probably about 70%. We go to specific neighborhoods that kind of do the thing. So they're all outside drinking beer, handing out shots, handing out candy bars. And so you don't really have to go ring the doorbell because they're all outside, kind of like, put the tailgate down on the truck and kind of hang out and congregate around there. But yeah, so don't have to go really ring the doorbell. They're all kind of in the street.
Calabrese, how about you? How was your Halloween?
So I took my two boys back to our old neighborhood because the whole neighborhood is like a 85, 90%, rate in terms of giving out candy. But also there's a couple families that walk around with mobile bars attached to radio flyers and they're just pulling beers and shots and cocktails. So I was in a good place. I went as Maverick Top Gun where he's on the motorcycle. So I just had the warm leather jacket on and the white shirt underneath. It was good. I agree with you though, Stuck. It's like you have to drive 20 minutes just to get to a neighborhood that's like all bought in on this, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And Duck, in terms of something scary, was there anything scarier on Halloween than watching North Carolina, being coached by Bill Belichick? Their entire brand of football is pretty spooky this season.
Thought
Uh,
they were going to lose. Thought they were going to lose with Syracuse having -8 yards in the first half and not having a first down. That was scary. But UNC looked good and elite uniform combination for North Carolina last night.
Damon is
The black shadow on the blue number.
Elite.
Yeah.
Damon is a demon, and Q starting a lax bro at quarterback that didn't really work out. That was a rough watch. It looks like Houston's going to go under their win total, even though they won at Clemson. I don't. College football is wild. All right, let's get to our first best bets. Colin, kick us off.
Yeah, let's go down and get the biggest game to kick off the day here. We're going to do Texas and Vanderbilt. I'm going to take Texas -3 in this game. Listen, Texas is playing at home for the first time since September 20th. That's all anybody can talk about is how exhausted we are for being on the road. We'll see if that helps them out. And Vandy finally stepping out after two big home SEC wins. And this Vandy 245 defense has been shredded at the second level, both rush and pass. I can't really sit here with a straight face and say I trust in this Texas offense to create points because generally it's been Ryan Niblett. But the fact that Arch Manning was pulled last night off of the availability report means he's going to be able to throw into the back half of that secondary. Look out for out routes because he has torn up quarters coverage with that. Really, the handicap comes on the other side of the ball. Can the Texas defense stop Diego Pavia? Diego Pavia runs man and counter run concepts, and Texas absolutely dominates those run concepts. They're a little bit softer on inside zone, but Diego's only had 3 carries in inside zone all year. Plus, look at Diego's numbers the last 4 games during SEC play. Is the schedule taking a toll? His yards per rush and his yards after first contact have tremendously declined game by game by game, and now he's getting this defense that dominates his run concept. I'll take Texas -3. I got some Pavia under rushing props. I don't think Vandy scores their share of points. Horns are probably going to look pretty powerful by the end of the day.
Collin is fully infected with the Diego disease. He can't stop fading Vandy. I've been there before. It didn't end well. I hope it ends better for you than it has the past couple of weeks. It is a tough spot for Vandy. And Arch did have his best game, I thought, last week against Mississippi State. Calabrese, where are you going?
So I'm going to go with Ohio State hosting Penn State. And I was kind of on the fence because I was thinking about playing Air Force. I think that they are the class in their matchup against Army, but they have the worst defense in the entire country. So that moved me off of it. And then I switched over to one of the best defenses in the country. And when I look at this play, I'm targeting the first quarter in particular. Ohio State laying 4.5 in the first 15 minutes. They've surrendered all of 3 points this entire season in the first quarter. Now you have Penn State offering up a freshman quarterback in Ethan Grunkemeyer. And their identity, at least in game one, post Franklin and post Aller, was just feed Fat Allen the entire game. Well, in terms of what Ohio State's going to be able to do schematically, they're going to be able to stop that run and they're going to put him into known passing down situations. And I think they're just going to unload on the kid. Their pass rush is going to be in his face the entire time. And then finally, script wise, I know that Ohio State plays at the slowest pace in the entire country in terms of seconds per play. When you look at it, though, in terms of their game script, how they play in Big Ten play in the opening drive, they had a touchdown, a field goal, a missed field goal, and a turnover on downs at the 5 yard line of the Washington Huskies. Their average yardage gained on their opening drives in Big Ten play, 60 yards. What that says to me is that Sayan knows exactly what he's doing. He's following those scripted plays. I think they'll come out hot, score a touchdown on that first drive, and then just shut down this Penn State team. Because of the tempo, I don't want to mess around with the game line, but the first quarter is my angle here for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, Ohio State is so slow. I have no idea where to rate Penn State. Like, and then out of the bye, do they look any better with the Knowles effect? I wish you luck. I have no clue on that game. Duck, where you going?
I'm laying the 7 with Texas Tech on the road. It just looks so easy to grab all that candy with Kansas State, given how they've played the last month of the season, winning 3 out of 4, but they've done it by being able to run the ball. They're not going to run the ball here. Texas Tech fourth defensively in success rate, sixth in EPA per play. They're giving up 70 rushing yards per game, 2.2 yards per carry on the season. Avery is going to be really stressed here to make plays in this game and against the best pass rush and the best coverage units in the Big 12. Big 12, it's going to be trouble. So the other thing too, Morton comes back for Texas Tech. Can Kansas State get enough pressure on him to rattle him? They couldn't do it against TCU or Baylor. I don't think they do it here. You look at the spot last week for the Wildcats, such a spot to continue the rivalry dominance in the Sunflower Showdown and kind of salvage something special about your bad season. I just don't know now if you're going up against the best defense in Big 12 play. It looks so easy. This is an indicating line, in my opinion, where you look at this line. Kansas State's a popular dog. People think they're going to win this game outright. Well, that line should open 5.5 if that's the case. Everyone's getting 7.5. It just looks too easy to me. I think Red Raiders win this one by 2 touchdowns.
You guys have gone with Texas, Ohio State, and Texas Tech so far. What's going on here? I got a bunch of top 10 and 15 teams. Morton back under center, by the way, for the Red Raiders. Their offense is much more electric with him there. So I got to throw a dog in here. Let's go with the Lobos. We're gonna go with Jason Eck in New Mexico. Look, UNLV is an enormous fraud. They played one real opponent that was healthy all year, and they got their doors blasted by Boise State. New Mexico was more competitive against Boise than UNLV was. And if you look back, They started off the year, they didn't even look great against Sam Houston, who is unbettable. They, played Idaho State, didn't look great. Then they played UCLA when they were a complete mess. They played Miami of Ohio. We're about to get blown out of the game. We're going to lose by 30 plus. Finn throws a pick six. He gets hurt. The backup comes in. Miami of Ohio is still in position to win the game. They fumble in the red zone. Then they play Wyoming in a hailstorm. They get two blocked punt return touchdowns in the game, which was the difference. They get outgained by over 100 yards against Wyoming. This defense is horrendous. They're dead last in the entire country in yards before contact. New Mexico will be able to just run their offense, do what they do under Eck. And one of these teams has been really lucky in the turnover department. That's UNLV. One's been really unlucky in New Mexico. So you could see some regression on that front. I think there's going to be like last team with the ball. So I'll happily take the points with New Mexico. Don't see a lot separating these teams. Probably come down to a fourth down or two, but that's what a lot of our bets come down to, turnovers and fourth downs. I think New Mexico is overdue in that department to get some breaks. Give me the Lobos. All right, so that's our first best bets: Texas, Ohio State first quarter, Texas Tech, and New Mexico. All right, before we get to our money line parlay, I'll throw it to myself for a quick read on our sponsor, DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins, and 3 months of NBA League Pass. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BBOC when signing up and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours. All right, let's move on to our money line parlay. Collin, last week I kind of rained on your parade, but it worked out.
Yeah.
We're going this route again.
Yeah, well, I mean, you already kind of did the handicap for me. I'm going to go with New Mexico, the Lobos, and Jason Equitrust. I love them to death. I took Colorado on our BBOC show. You can swap them in here if you want, but I like New Mexico in the spot. Big fade of UNLV should come in here down the stretch. I think we've talked about this before. Like penalties have just been horrific. They're one of the worst.
Very undisciplined.
They can't defend the rush, which New Mexico can do. And New Mexico does have a pass rush, so they should be able to get some pressure and do enough on defense. So let's go with the Lobos to start us off.
Calabrese.
I'm going to go with Duke plus 140 over Clemson. I mean, what happened to this Clemson defense? They were supposed to be one of the elite defenses in the sport. They just played a broken SMU team, and the Mustangs got whatever they wanted, 35 points, 430 total yards. So I'm going to place my trust in Manny Diaz coming off a bye week, extra time to game plan. I think he's going to find ways to use his elite run defense to put Klubnik in known passing downs. And with no Wesco out on the perimeter, limited weapons, I think he's going to be able to get the best of them in a higher scoring game because we have the better quarterback in this matchup. Mensa is fourth in the ACC in QBR, 17-2 touchdown to interception ratio. He is basically ascending down the stretch here. And Duke has so much to play for under Diaz, where Clemson, you have to wonder what's going on in the locker room in terms of their overall interests in this season. Are things falling apart? Is there finger pointing going on? Because this is a team that at the very least wanted to be in the playoff. Now those dreams are gone. What do you play for down the stretch in the ACC?
Calabrese going with Duke because if you remove the K, he's due for one of these. I don't hate it. Just taking in a round robin. I mean, like Duke games are so dumb. Like there's gonna be dumb turnovers, dumb special teams things. They're a tough team to crack. Duck, where you going?
Temple plus 185. You look at the Owls, several strong performances at home this season. Beat UTSA outright as underdogs. Took Navy to the wire. Should have won that one. Casey Keeler developing toughness with his defense that Stan Drayton never could. This defense hangs in there in the trenches. They can get a little pressure on the quarterback. Evan Simon, we're not talking about him enough. 21 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 7.5 yards per pass attempt against an ECU secondary that's graded out as fourth worst in the conference. They're way down there with FAU and UAB, so could be real trouble for the Pirates defending the pass. Big red zone disparity here. ECU 9 empty trips and 7 red zone field goals. The ECU red zone production really bit them last year, and I think it'll possibly bite them here too. Temple only 3 empty trips and 75% touchdown rate on offense. So they're cashing in the red zone for touchdowns. This is just completely a game ECU would go up there and lose off the bye. The passing game may not look as crisp. They've struggled at times to protect Hauser. I think this is one where they could get bit here by the Owls.
Yeah, that type of offense usually does fall out of rhythm after long breaks. So we'll see if Temple can take advantage early. By the way, Temple, who got robbed against Navy, should have won that game, had a botched call at the end that gave Navy the win. If they won that game, as they should have, they'd be live, more live than they are. I mean, they're not dead yet. Both of these teams are still in the AAC race. By the way, speaking of the AAC, big one at noon in Denton, North Texas Navy. North Texas wins that, they're going to be in pretty good position to get to the AAC title, but still a lot to happen. This is a wild conference, one of my favorite races in the entire country. I'll go with UCF. Baylor might be dead. That's basically the reasoning. So we got New Mexico, Duke, Temple, and UCF at DraftKings, 40-1. Calabrese, I believe in you this week. All right, before we get to our marquee matchup, we continue to roll out some amazing new updates on the award-winning Action Network app. And the best way to get the most from the app is being an Action Pro subscriber. Pro subs can get real-time alerts whenever any of us post a pick. Sign up today with promo code BBOC20 for 20% or $20 off an annual subscription. Again, that's promo code BBOC20. Promise you it's worth checking out. All right, let's get to the marquee matchup of the day. Oklahoma travels to Tennessee. Loser of this game, probably out of the college football playoff picture. Tennessee's been floating between a 2.5 to 3 point home favorite. Colin, what do you got?
I got Oklahoma +3. I believe they're going to wrap up these tackling problems that they had last week. They were averaging about 12 apiece versus South Carolina and Texas, and then they missed 17 against Ole Miss. You would think that's going to be a little bit better here because of the way Tennessee is with their throwing offense, they're only 83rd in creating broken tackles and missed tackles. They're not really going to be able to juke anybody out of their shoes. And then you look at what Tennessee likes to run through Heupel's wide stretch, split veer and shoot. It's all hitch routes. And OU absolutely dominates hitch routes, 60% success rate against that. So I believe what Tennessee wants to do through the air is going to be a real problem because of what OU is built to do. On the other side of the ball, Mateer finally played a mistake-free game last week. He had 8 turnover-worthy plays against Texas and South Carolina. Finally looked okay against Ole Miss. I expect Mateer and Blaylock to be able to run their inside zone, do a lot of damage. The two of them have 21 rush explosives on the year, and Tennessee is 112th in rush explosives allowed. Defensive finishing drives is even worse, 131st, near dead last. Like if you could just get to the 40-yard line against Tennessee, you're pretty much averaging about 5.5 points per trip. So Oklahoma all the way here.
Yeah, I agree with you on Oklahoma. They're tough to rate. I still have them a couple points better than Tennessee. They're tough because you have the Mateer injury to deal with. I think last week their defense was really hurt by the conditions, and then Chambliss' ability to just extend plays. Aguilar, underrated mobility, but he's not Chambliss in that department. And Tennessee just hasn't faced a defense like this. I mean, if you look, the only team they faced in the top 50 in sack rate is Alabama, who's not even good in that department. They're like 48th. Oklahoma's number 1 there, number 1 in Havoc. I think that's where the mistakes come for Aguilar. So I think the Oklahoma defense is the best unit on the field here. Mateer is going to continue to improve health-wise, and this Tennessee defense, that's where I just don't think this Tennessee team lives up to it because they really missed their 2 projected starting corners. No, they can't stop anybody. Cutter Boley last week and a offense that wasn't even healthy and had injuries during the game put up 500 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. They've been living off of defensive touchdowns, which they lead the country in, which is unsustainable. Last week, they basically had 2 more. So I think Oklahoma will be able to move the ball. Anybody can against this Tennessee defense. And who has Tennessee beat in the SEC? 3 teams that are combined 0-13 in conference, and they should have lost to Arkansas and they should have lost to Mississippi State if not for fumbles and another defensive touchdown. Credit to the Vols last week for Aguilar going off. I mean, his deep ball was pristine, but this is a different animal against Oklahoma. I'll take the field goal here. Calabrese, where are you going?
So I got a player prop here. It was the biggest discrepancy in the player props that I was targeting for all of Saturday. And a shout out to Zful, who does all of our player props. You should check him out on the Action Network app. I'm going under 32.5 rush yards for Mateer. Prior to the Auburn game where he injured his hand, Mateer was averaging 54 yards per game on the ground. Since then, he's averaging just 12. Fewer design runs and fewer broken tackles is the difference. He had 78 yards after contact pre-injury. He's averaging just 13 yards after contact since. So no more of those vicious stiff arms and no more of those design runs in goal to go and short yardage situations. Tennessee's pass rush, by the way, 18th per PFF, seventh most sacks per game in the entire country. That can be a prop killer because you need to remember rushing yardage in terms of sacks counts against you in college. It doesn't in the NFL. So I think he'll be hard pressed to get over 30 here. My projection calls for it to be 23. So anything under 30, it's right now in the market 32 and a half. That's a dead under for me.
And Duck, you're looking at a team total?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Oklahoma defense. This is totally a spot where I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Oklahoma did not play well defensively last week. Team was gassed after seeing 20 more plays in the Ole Miss game than any other opponent had run on them this season. I think Oklahoma dictates the pace that this game is played at. I don't think they want to get into a back and forth shootout type of game like they did last week. Oklahoma, 29 sacks, 87 tackles for loss. I think this front four can get to Joey Aguilar, who was pressured on 16 dropbacks against Alabama, 14 against Ole Miss. You just see the turnover worthy plays go up when he gets pressure into his face. I think they're going to come off the edge up the middle. They're not going to just sit back and get picked apart like what Trinidad did last week with them. In what amounts to a playoff elimination game, I'm going to lean on this defense, the best unit on the field. I took Tennessee's team total under 29 and a half.
Yeah, it's a fair point that people will say like Oklahoma's defense hasn't faced many elite offenses and Ole Miss did its thing. But the Oklahoma offense, I, I will say, like they faced Auburn, elite defense, Texas, elite defense, South Carolina, top 25 defense. Ole Miss's defense is significantly better than Tennessee, so like their offense may benefit, and I think that they will be able to sustain drives here. So you can look at that on both sides. All right, that'll wrap up the marquee matchups. Time for the D block. Bring in Duck to talk some FCS. We're going to start off with some this for college basketball is coming. Man, at Citadel VMI, they had some classic shootouts in the past, but
Yeah, they
we're going to
did.
go under here on the gridiron.
Yeah, I would never bet a Citadel VMI under in college hoops, especially with the way they played that loot and shoot system. But here, you have two of the worst offenses in the entire country, let alone being bad in the Southern Conference. Citadel, 80% run, minimal explosivity on the ground. But they will outpossess VMI and they'll move it 4 yards at a time, similar to what Rice does. They run an inverted type of triple option system. Neither of these teams can really throw the ball with much proficiency. Citadel has defensively at least some resemblance of a pass rush, so they'll get after VMI. VMI can't pass protect very well and is really, really weak in the offensive trenches. 25 sacks, 59 tackles for loss surrendered. The last three meetings have seen 23, 30, and 48 total points. Citadel's been better defensively, particularly against the run. Bulldogs are going to dominate the time of possession. This will be a slow burning grind. Get this one in quickly because we're starting to see some steam this morning to the under.
And then we're gonna go to some swaction. What do you got in the SWAC?
Yeah, and Alabama State just not being talked about. Andrew Body, their quarterback, might be the best
Stud.
player in this conference. 20 touchdown passes, just one INT, 71% completion, shredded UAB, which is not saying much, but it is an FBS defense. Hornets are averaging 8 yards per play on offense and are scoring 42 points per game. Prairie View's been a decent defensive team this year, but you've got to consider the competition played. One of your favorite teams, Lincoln University, the fake college with no home games. Southern University, who has no passing game, Alcorn State and Grambling that have no passing games, Northwestern State and Rice. The secondary just has not been tested for Prairie View the way that the Hornets are going to do that. I think that they will play okay defensively, but they can't keep pace here. So go find the flat seven or the 6.5 and lay it with Alabama State. I'd lay up to 9.5 on the road.
I need a Netflix doc on this Lincoln University football team. And we got a bonus pick, another total.
Yeah, Fordham and Richmond under 49 and a half. You can still go get that one right now. I have this one at 45 and a half. Fordham scoring 9 points per game over the last month. Quarterback play from Gunnar Smith has been really up and down, mostly down. Richmond, one of the better coverage units in the Patriot League and only gives up 52% completions and 166 passing yards per game. Richmond QB play is also way down this year, and it's all shorter stuff in the passing game. Shouldn't be a ton of pace. Richmond defensively has been solid. Fordham has been better defensively in recent weeks. This is an under game.
All right, Richmond, Fordham under, Citadel VMI under, and Alabama State and Body, who's been great with the Hornets. All right, good stuff, Duck. Before we get out of here, one final best bet at the Horn. Colin, I hate this one, but go ahead.
We hate it every week, and I'm resigned to the fact that Virginia has sold their soul to the devil, and they're just going to continue to win games, and we're going to continue to complain about it. All right, post-game win expectancy against UNC 43%, Louisville 10%, FSU 34%. This is a team of destiny.
Yeah, but they're going to win by one in overtime. How are you going to cover
I
five and
don't
a half?
hate it. I've got the ticket. I don't hate this.
I'm taking Virginia here -5.5 against Cal. There are things in the numbers that say they could win this game. The havoc advantages. There's a pass rush for Virginia on defense here. And when you get JKS and you get some pressure on him, his turnover worthy play rate skyrockets to 6.3%. Plus, Virginia rush is just going to dominate here with Jamari Taylor's 3.6 yards after first contact. Cal's bottom 10 in line yards, bottom 10 in stuff, right? They can't control the line of scrimmage. They can't deal with pressure on their quarterback. And Virginia has sold their soul to the devil, and I'm in on this to the end, to the ACC championship game.
Lucky team travels across the country. What could go wrong? Calabrese, where are you going?
The Pac-12 season is now kicking off, but I'm not buying it for Oregon State. They are winless against FBS teams this year, so I'll lay the 3.5 with Wazoo. After early struggles to the season, it's been a really good month of football for Washington State, including near upsets of that Virginia team we just mentioned being a team of destiny and Ole Miss. Massive defensive turnaround. They're finally tackling people. They're giving up fewer explosives, and that bend but don't break defense is working in the red zone. They're 34th in red zone scoring percentage. Zevi, the Wolf, Eckhouse has added the quarterback run back into their playbook, and when they're playing that Jimmy Rogers brand of football, playing keep away, running the football, using a quarterback to pick up those key third downs is something that's going to help. When you add it all together with that really slow tempo, only Ohio State slower, I think Wazoo wins this game comfortably. I don't think there's much of a home field advantage for a listless Beavers team.
I also needed a Netflix documentary on why Eckhouse started the season as QB3 for Wazoo. Duck, where are you going?
Boise State team total over. This is important to shop around because you could get a 35, which would be the worst of the number. DraftKings has the best of the number, 33.5. Home performances this season for Boise State, 51, 47, 41, and 56 points at home. Fresno State's defensive fortitude is a mirage, shredded by San Diego State, shredded by Colorado State, and they just don't have the talent to compete here. Boise's secondary, since the Notre Dame game, allowed 115 passing yards to New Mexico, 215 to UNLV, and just 145 to Nevada's quarterback. Fresno has completely abandoned their offensive identity. They threw the ball 42 times last week, only averaged 4 yards per pass attempt. Quick possessions, turnovers will lead to a cheap score here. Boise will exceed this team total.
All right, I'm going to go with Air Force. If it's not good enough for Calabrese, it's good enough for me. How I think this plays out, Air Force, if you chart all the group of five teams adjusted EPA per play, Air Force is the best group of five offense, the worst group of five defense. But this is a game where their defense can actually look competent because they're going up against a similar type of offense. They actually will look okay. You're going to get a lot. It's going to be like a service academy game. There's going to be a lot of first and second down stops that you don't normally see because guys know where to be. They're disciplined. They know the plays that are coming. So who is more capable of getting the third and longs that are going to keep drives going? I think it's this electric. Well, some of our callers don't like when I say the Air Force offense is electric. The electric Air Force offense at home. Give me the Falcons to get it done. By the way, one word answer before we get out of here. And voicemails 959 Bad Beat. We'll have our recap episode on Sunday. That'll be out Monday. Group of five guys. Calabrese and Duck will be back on Wednesday to preview the Week 11 slate. Collin and I'll be back on Thursday. Live show same time next week. But one word answer. Who wins Game 7 tonight? Duck, I already know what you're going to say.
Toronto.
Collin?
Dodgers pitching staff too much.
Calabrese?
Yeah, Blue Jays missed their window. It's going to be the Dodgers, unfortunately.
I'll say the Dodgers. USA. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to DraftKings. Make sure you check out Playbook. The quick slips in the link. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Thanks to our producer, Giff, on the back end. Thanks to Duck, Mike, and Collin for joining me. Let's have a day. Let's have a second half of the season. Good luck on all of your wagers. We will see you same time next week. Cheers.